Welcome back. I have Sifu and Octavio here with me again. Welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to talk about where does JKD come from, Bruce Lee's martial art. What's the origin story? There are a lot of people talk about it. Oh, is it what it's being portrayed on the movie? Not quite. I think the art really was born when Bruce versus Wong, the fight, right? So, Sifu, talk about that fight.
I think what really happened, it was a change of understanding and a clarity moment,
right,
as to what had happened. Because if you've ever been in a fight, things happen so fast, you're not thinking about it. You're just trying to either react to the situation or act to the situation. So after the fact, he was probably pondering his thoughts over and over, like, how could I have done this faster? Like, what am I doing? And so his recollection of his philosophy, his experience, his direction on where he wanted to go with things was more physical, more mobile. Right, so we understand that the Wing Chun stance was very stationary.
Yeah, maybe let's talk about the stance first, right? So before, of course, Bruce was heavily influenced by Wing Chun.
Right.
And before Wong Chun, it was more traditional Wing Chun stance, right? It's more like Bai Zhang, right? And then heavily on the way in the back, right? It's more also asking him in the front.
Yeah.
And from there, Bruce wanted to end the fight in seconds, but it ended up chasing Wong Chun with the strict blast for, I think it ended up with 3 minutes or so-ish.
Yeah.
And then got him on the ground finally and said, hey, do you give up? Do you give up? Asking Wong Chun in Chinese, and he said, yeah, I give up. And that was the end of the fight.
Yeah.
He felt it lasts way longer, and he was winded. He lost, like running out of gas, basically.
Yeah.
So from this, now this is very rooted stance, right? So
Yeah.
like it's Wing Chun, right? It's much more, you're almost waiting for what the opponent would do, and then you react to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, any of that, the movement in it too is very, I wouldn't say slow, but it does drag a little bit.
Yeah, because it's dragging, right?
Right.
It's from there, right?
Yeah, and again, this isn't a discussion that say there's something wrong with it. There isn't. It's just the nature of what that art is doing in those circumstances. So the pressure and the mobility, it takes that much time versus, okay, so if I utilize that same principle and apply more of a mobile stance and be able to move at a quicker pace, then maybe I could have done something differently in that circumstance. But again, his vision was trying to get something where he can almost beat anything the way I'm reviewing things.
So he could get to the opponent faster, easier, right? With more mobility.
Right.
So stance, from a rooted stance to more now a mobile, fluid stance.
Right.
That has changed a lot. That's the signature JKD.
Right, and you've seen his experience in boxing.
Yeah.
He has some influence in fencing. And so he didn't just combine this stuff. It was more of the principles that were involved. How do I apply those principles at a much quicker pace?
That's why I think you look at JKD stance, it looks like a fencing stance, but it's not fencing.
Right.
Right? Because fencing, you've got the weapon on your hands.
Yeah.
You don't really need quote unquote power. But when you stick somebody, you stick somebody with a sword, right?
Yeah.
But versus JKD, we actually want to generate power.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Because fencing, obviously you have this long stance, right? Well, they're not going to be using this to kick when they're fencing.
Correct.
So we have to adjust this to maintain an area to hit. We can
Right.
still utilize, and this is all hip use if we're hitting somebody, right? But if we're trying to move in on somebody, again, it's almost the same idea. When you're thrusting, it's like the body's delivering, and this is almost following right behind it.
Right.
So it's in essence quite similar to it.
So taking the principle, but not the technique necessary. And then of course he still keeps a lot of principles, the direct line, strict line, center line principle from Wing Chun. So that's, I think, the first big difference compared to before versus after the fight. The second thing is, I think, it's in terms of weapons.
Yeah.
Before, maybe Wing Chun, of course, strict blast, that's the main punch. Then, but later on, Bruce incorporate other types of punches from Western boxing, other types of like even kickings and other techniques.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that, the short range versus the long range weapons.
So, you know, in Wing Chun, so if we're very close, right? And usually they stop here, and this is the training. Sometimes the training is just from here, and they go here, or they go from here, and then you basically, you probably jut self from there, right? And from there, I probably take it from here, then we start to roll back fist, and we're, you know, what I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it's too connected, and it's too much of an attachment here, whereas if I was here, why not, boom, take it to another angle, where there's an opening, right? His reaction in Wing Chun circles, this would be an attack also. But what if I did that on purpose, knowing that he was going to press forward here, and all of a sudden I slipped and hit. So you can utilize that kind of stuff. It just depends on how experienced or what level you are.
I feel like also after that, not just the weapons, but strategy-wise, Bruce, like a better word, make it more sneaky.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
A little bit more, not so direct. I can be direct, but I have other ways that I can also attack the guy, which is kind of 5 ways of attack. Later on he talks about.
I think there's a lot of confusion of the mind, right? To get somebody to do something that they feel that they're doing correct.
Correct.
And it's actually the wrong thing they're doing. So that's a completely flipped way of thinking. It's like, what? I thought I was doing the right thing. No, I actually had you do that on purpose. You know, so that's where the perception comes in. And so he extracted all that from more of a distance point of view.
More weapons.
Yeah, and then he's utilizing, again, his whole body to be able to sustain hits or deliver them.
What about also, I think, for after that fight, because he was running out of gas, then that's when he really got into the whole training and circuit training and all of that, right? Power. That's when he can develop that quote-unquote Bruce Lee physique.
Yeah.
It's after that fight, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He was obsessed with it, basically.
Yeah, he wanted to gauge more power. The guy, you notice he was a small individual, thin-wise, but he was building muscle. Just nothing but muscle. And it wasn't a lot of mass. It was just more, how is he going to generate that speed within short ranges? Yeah. So yeah, very, very interesting transition. And that, of course, influenced many people in the world. So
there you go. That's the birth of JKD. You want to watch other JKD videos? You want to learn more about it and see it in action? Check out the next video.